In Vietnam, they had a problem. They had sensors on the Ho Chi Minh Trail that picked up signals from the movement of the troops on the ground. But the transmitters couldn't transmit all the way back to Thailand, where the equipment received the signals to then translate it into usable intelligence. So the Air Force went to Beechcraft and asked them to create an aircraft that could do it remote control. And they came up with a QU-22A, which was a Beechcraft Debonair that was modified, and they built 7 of those. Unfortunately, the Debonair didn't have the stamina to carry the load they needed, so they went back to the drawing board and they said, we're going to fix all the problems we know with the A and come out with the QU-22B.
AOPA keeps flying safe, accessible, and fun by protecting your freedom to fly. We are the most trusted one-stop resource for all things related to general aviation. Join AOPA today. Thanks to Lightspeed for sponsoring this video. Click below to learn more about the Lightspeed Delta Zulu.
I'm David Valaer. I own this QU-22B Beechcraft model 1079. I grew up flying as a young man. I learned to fly when I was 15, got my license when I was 16, and then along the way I had a chance to fly float planes in Alaska. I was an Alaska bush pilot. And I was fortunate enough to get I call it my $35 million lottery ticket, and flew A7s and F-16s for the Air National Guard, the Iowa Air National Guard, in fact, the 185th unit. And this is a BAT, and our call sign was BAT as well. I've got my F-16 trained with the 56th Fighter Squadron, and this flew with the 56th Squadron. So kind of some neat history that way between the airplane and my background as well. So this airplane was designed to fly at 30,000 feet. It's got a large turbocharger on the aircraft. It's got a Gitzo GTSIO Continental 520-G, which Continental says they never built a -G. I've got 2 of them, so I know they do. So Beechcraft built this under secrecy because the whole mission was classified. It was called Igloo White, and Igloo White was this intelligence gathering platform this airplane performed. This airplane specifically was built in 1970 and commissioned in 1970 with the 56th Reconnaissance Squadron in Vietnam. And in a year and a half, it flew 1,556 hours in Vietnam, so it flew a lot. My predecessor had the aircraft, and somehow he got the original flight logs, not copies, the original flight logs from Vietnam. And it flew the 1,556 hours in Vietnam, and then it's only flown 100 hours in the last 50 years since it came back from Vietnam. It won Most Rare Warbird in 1992 because out of the 27 airframes that were built, there's this airplane flying, there's another one in New York that's pretty much original, but they've clipped the wings and made it kind of more like an A-36. And then there's one in the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base Museum, and that's it. 7 of them were lost in Vietnam. Unfortunately, 2 or 3 of the pilots did get killed on those, and it was pretty reliable. The flap switch and the gear switch have a middle position called NULO, N-U-L-L-O, not under live local operation. Drone. The term NULO was a term that they coined back in 1970 that they still use today, and this airplane's got a NULO position for the flaps and the gear, just like it did when it was new. These are actual patches from the actual squadron from Vietnam. They're not reproduction, they're the actual patches. So I've literally been chasing this airplane for 20 years. I bid on it in about 2010 and lost the bid. So I kept in touch about every 6 months, and about a year ago, they said, okay, we're ready to sell the airplane. Knowing that I would take care of it, I've got the original punch cards. I've got the original flight logs. I've got the original documentation that you would never find normally, and I've got the originals of all that. I like unique, unusual things. It fits all the squares for me. At 17,000 feet, it's still climbing at 2,000 feet per minute at 17. So one of my goals in the years to come is to do a high altitude record. I think it'll go to 40,000. I think. I got a pressure mask and all the testing, all the things, I've got all the tools. And I think it'll do 300 knots downwind in the jet stream. So I'm gonna do a couple records with it. People say, what are you gonna do with it? You don't really do anything with a warbird. You enjoy it, you share it with people.